A deep belly breath, it does wonders. I just feel so relaxed after doing just a few of them. And it's so surprising how infrequently I do it throughout my day. I just get caught up in all the other things that I'm doing. Anyway, today we're getting into what I think is some of the core of healing. Some of the core of healing anxiety in particular for me. Something that has allowed me a lot more self-compassion in my life, a lot less self-criticism and self-judgment, and just a lot less stress. And that is understanding what conditioning is. Understanding what conditioning is, okay? Dictionary.com defines conditioning as training or accustoming someone or something to behave in a particular way, okay? So basically, taking something and making it do this in a certain way. My name is Marcello. I am somebody who has been conditioned, as we all have, and I'm also somebody who has experienced very intense anxiety, in particular OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. I don't really like to call it a disorder. Really, it's just something that we are healing and moving through. But it's not something that is a life sentence, at least in my opinion, in my experience. And I am here with this channel and with this video to share what my experiences are in hopes that they can help somebody else, and just to create some relatability. Because also, I am still learning every single moment, every single day. The challenges still come up. The anxieties still come up. However, the way that I handle them, my relationship to them, and my relationship with myself has grown and evolved in a beautiful way. And so I just really want to bring a community together so that we can do these things together. I'm not sitting here telling you I'm enlightened and I know everything, but I've been through some of it and I've learned a lot about it, and so I want to share it. So we are here to learn, grow, and evolve together. So why is understanding conditioning so important? Well, for me, it really shows, it really underlines that we are not our thoughts and we are not our emotions. Rather, our thoughts and our emotions, the way that we think and the way that we experience our emotions are taught to us at a very, very young age, right? They are handed down to us from our authority figures, whether it be our parents, our mom and our dad, our older siblings, or our teachers, or our society as a whole. Maybe our grandparents, our aunt and uncles, whoever it was that took care of you between the ages of birth and 7 years old. Because really what happens is we are brought into this world and we're just like this blank slate. And the people holding the paintbrushes are those authority figures. And the only paints that they have to paint on this canvas are the ones that they've acquired over the span of their lifetime. And therefore, we take on the way that they see the world, we take on the way that they respond to stress, we take on the way that they deal with their emotions. And if during their lifetime they didn't learn how to emotionally regulate, aka deal with their emotions, or they didn't learn healthy ways to cope with stress, or they didn't learn how to set boundaries, right? We take those things on. And that is what we learn. Those are the cards that we are dealt. And so understanding this for me gave me so much self-compassion, because I started to recognize, oh my gosh, first off, this is not a life sentence. This could be changed. That's neuroplasticity. That's in the next video. But first off, these things are not life sentence. And second off, all the self-judgment and self-criticism on the way that I am and the way that I do things started to fall off once I recognized that actually I was just taught these things at a young age. I was conditioned to be this way from a very young age. And may I add that between birth and 7, we don't get to choose what we learn or how we learn it. Okay, we are only given whatever we're given. Okay, we're extremely vulnerable. And therefore, with that vulnerability, we have to take whatever we get. And so this, for me, has helped me in my healing because I now put less stress on myself. Now, once I learn this, I have to digest it, keep in mind. So it took me some time to get here. But once I digested it, it allowed me a lot less stress in my healing process, giving myself a lot more room to grow, a lot more awareness in my healing process, recognizing where a certain thought comes from, where a certain reaction, emotional reaction comes from, in being able to see it objectively, see it for what it is, rather than identifying with it. And this space, like I talked about in the meditation video, is extremely important for healing because it allows us to choose how we want to respond, therefore creating an entirely new habit instead of strengthening that old habit of reaction or however we used to deal with that trigger or with that thought or with that stress. Now, a really good example of this is my parents are a little bit older. They're 62 and 76. I'm 25. And my mom, when we have talked about therapy in the past, made it very clear to me that for her, if somebody in her friend group or in her neighborhood went to a psychiatrist, they were considered psychotic, they would be looked at differently, and there was a very strong stigma around it. And therefore, people wouldn't go and talk about their emotions, they wouldn't go and talk about their challenges, and therefore they didn't learn these very healthy coping mechanisms or tools for healing and for actually being able to have this beautiful relationship with themselves by working through whatever traumas they had or whatever challenges that they had. And because of that, because my mom didn't get to go through some of these experiences, because the culture was different at that time, I didn't get to learn them from my mom. So if, let's say, she had really poor self-confidence at a young age or throughout her life, and she didn't really get to express that or work through that with anybody else, then chances are that that gets passed down to me. Now, it might not seem like it while I'm sitting here talking to a camera to YouTube or to you. I also go through these very intense experiences of feeling so inadequate. And one of the things that I continuously work through is not believing in the fear of not being enough, right? And so a lot of that, again, is generational. It's passed down from our parents. And my mom maybe even got it from her mom and her mom and her mom. It gets passed down, passed down. And so this is what I mean when I say that her experiences in her life are going to shape my experiences in my life. But thankfully, we are at a place in our culture where talking about these things is so much more plentiful. Being in therapy is so much more common. We could talk about it openly. And that is extremely beautiful, and now we have the ability to do the work. We have a lot more opportunities to do the work. And so really the reason that I'm sharing this with you is because I just want you to play with the concept of conditioning, recognizing, okay, like, why do I respond to someone disagreeing with what I'm saying, with taking it so personally and being so upset about it? Why do I respond to this person talking to me like that with so much sadness? Just starting to become very aware of our responses, our reactions to things. Starting to become very aware of our emotional reactions to things rather than just our thoughts. Being very aware of conditioning. Maybe if you still live with your parents or have a relationship with them, or if they're still alive, or even if they're not alive, even just thinking about your relationship with them, starting to see and be aware of how they respond to things. How do they set boundaries when they're upset with somebody and they need space for themselves? How do they get their needs met? Or how do they express getting their needs met? When they, let's say, just like really need sleep. Let's be very basic. They really need sleep. Are they comfortable with saying, hey, I need to go to bed early tonight. I can't help you with this, right? Or do they just share their need and their boundary with a lot of aggravation and a lot of anger, rather than being able to share it with you in a very clear, concise way? So just starting to become aware of yourself, your own reactions, and perhaps even playing with witnessing your parents' reactions or thinking back on the way that your parents did things and reacted to things. Because this really fueled my anxiety, because my parents have a lot of anxiety, unresolved anxiety, which comes from unresolved emotions, which might come from unresolved traumas or challenges when they were younger, and they didn't have the tools to handle them or to move through them or heal them, or the opportunities to move through them or heal them. And so that was all translated to me. It was all adopted by me because I was too vulnerable. I didn't know. I was young. We don't have the chance to choose. And so now, just knowing that I didn't have a choice, I was vulnerable and adopted these things, that has allowed me a lot of compassion with myself to move forward. And so the next thing here, this next video that's going to be coming up, is going to be about neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is a word that that basically changed my whole life. And neuroplasticity is simply just knowing that we can change as people. That's it. Neuroplasticity is a concept introduced in the last 50 years when researchers discovered that our brains remain structurally and physiologically changeable throughout life. AKA, we could change our habits, we could change how we respond to things, we could change our lives, how we respond to emotions, etc. So the next video is going to be about neuroplasticity, and conditioning is just essentially, for me, the first step before changing. It could be any step, but for me, that's how it went. Anyway, I hope that this was extremely educational for you, or just helped you to see how things are working in you and in your family dynamics. Much love to you. And again, we are here to learn, grow, and evolve together. Thank you to Trigger Me Tees, because these t-shirts, are very aligned with me, as you can tell. Feel free to drop a comment in the comment section below, bringing up something that's very evident in your life, something that is very clear in your life that has come from conditioning, or maybe ask a question about conditioning, and let's start a conversation about it. Conditioning, again, it's given me so much space in my life, so much compassion for myself, and so much less self-judgment and self-criticism. Much love to you. I wish you the best going forward. Let's keep evolving. Let's keep growing and learning together. Yes. Bada bing, bada boom.